Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 27th of April and I welcome you at the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. And first of all, I would like to tell you that you can download explainer notes of this entire session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel has been given in description box in YouTube. From there you can download the notes. Now, before starting up, I would like to give you an overview of entire newspaper so that you can understand that actually which articles are important in the today's newspaper. Now, starting up, so first article, 10 Jawans killed in blast by Maoist in Dantewada. So guys, we see this thing that left-wing extremism, okay, misfortunate event has happened. Then moving on the side article, despite court stay, OTT platforms face pressure on content. Now guys, understand this particular thing, okay, that what has happened, OTT rules 2021 were brought, and under the OTT rules, it was provided that over the top platforms, that is Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., they need to have a grievance redressal officer that has to be appointed. Now guys, in this particular capacity, what has happened recently, it was provided that the High Court have stayed this particular provision that you should have a grievance officer. That provision was stayed by the High Court, but still they are being pressurized. Okay, now one thing guys I want to tell you here that see, you are not required to go too much in details in these particular kind of things. Okay, just as a critical analysis we can use this particular argument. Then moving on, then we have this advertisement, not important for our examination. Then guys, coming to the city section, Oberoi re-elected mayor as BJP withdraws its candidate. Okay, women accuses hotel of holding her hostage over bill payment. Not important articles, these are the regional developments. So for your examination, you are not required to go too much in detail in that. Then guys, further moving on, after that again these regional political issues, advertisements, etc. have been given. Okay, so moving on in this particular direction guys, fine. Here we can see one article, Supreme Court modifies order on ESZ. We'll see that what this particular article is all talking about. Mahanadi Rao, experts question timing of Chhattisgarh release of water into river. Okay, so guys, we see this particular thing that between the states, when we talk about the federal issues, river water dispute, okay, this happens to be a very big one. And here guys, we see this particular, again, the issue that is coming. Then further moving on in this particular direction, here there is one article, High Court orders triple test for couple facing legal hurdles. We'll see about the surrogacy. We'll see that what are the provisions with respect to surrogacy and why this particular article has come in the news. Then further moving on, after that we have largely these political articles, tenders, etc. Okay, search for missing, not important for exam. Coming to editorial page, the first article, the challenge of reviving a sense of fraternity. We'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2. Then side article, this article is talking about the recent initiative where the Rajasthan government has come out with a bill for gig workers. We'll see this particular article. Then moving on, virtual digital assets, India stand and the way ahead. We'll see this particular article also for the examination. Second inning hopes. Now understand this particular thing guys, that what has happened recently, the Joe Biden has announced that he will be running for the presidential elections for 2024. The second inning of Joe Biden are being discussed. Okay, however, you are not required to go too much in detail in this particular article with respect to the examination. Then further moving on, the third generation web is about public good. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination as what it is talking about. Then further, the distribution and utilization of water bodies in India. Okay, so basically what the article is talking about, the article is just giving the chart numbers that what types of water bodies are there in India across the percentage. So largest percentages of ponds, then tanks, reservoirs, then others, and then lakes. But then this is the data that is giving that how the water bodies are being used across the state. Fish farming is how much percent domestic, drinking purpose, how much water bodies are being used for the domestic purpose, irrigation purpose. So state-wide data has been given. Now you are not required to go too much in detail that how much water in which state is being used for what particular purpose, but fine. Then coming to text and context page. Now in the text and context, the first article, the ambiguities in the nuclear liability law. So we will see this particular article with respect to the examination as what the article is actually talking about. Then after that, moving to the next page. So here we have the bibliography article where the references from these particular books are being given, and the article reads, shining a light on the darkness of ignorance through literary LGBTQ tales. Now see this thing, that right now this matter has went to Supreme Court, that whether the same sex couples in India can be allowed to get married or not under the provision of the Special Marriage Act. Now on this thing, every day there is one article, someday bibliography article, someday some commentaries going on. But see, you are not required to read these articles every day. Why? Because when the Supreme Court judgment finally will come, then we need to see that what it has said. If Supreme Court will allow the same sex couples to get married, then there will be another set of arguments, and if they will not allow, then there will be a different set of arguments. So once the final judgment will come, we'll go in that particular detail. Now moving to the next article, biggest attack by Maoist in Chhattisgarh in 2 years. So this misfortunate incident has happened. Then guys, after that, need for state action was felt in triple talaq case, center tells Supreme Court. Okay. Then further moving on. After that guys, right to marry is not absolute law. Just a minute. Right to marry is not absolute laws. Laws regulate marriage, center tells the Supreme Court. So again guys, this is the same thing that is going on that I have told you. Right now the case is going on, the petition has been filed in Supreme Court regarding the validity of, regarding that whether the same sex marriages can be allowed in India or not. So before this particular final judgment comes, the center government is giving their viewpoint, and their viewpoint is that this matter should be decided by the parliament, should be decided by the government. Supreme Court should not take any decision in this particular direction. Okay, but you are not required to go and track it every day. Then further moving on, India intends to make healthcare affordable for whole world, Modi. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that India is actually focusing too much on the health in the aftermath of the pandemic. And in this particular direction, the Prime Minister has said that we have come out with the idea of one earth. We have come idea about the one health, one earth, one health. Now first of all, understand what is the meaning of one health. Okay, understand this particular thing. Now see, suppose this is the health of humans, health of environment, health of animals. Okay, so where the health of human, environment and animal will converge, we will get the one health. One health idea simply provide this particular thing. Till all the three will be healthy, no one can stay healthy. When we talk about the health, we up till now has largely focused on the human health. But if our environment will not be healthy, our animals will not be healthy, human cannot stay healthy. So if the humans have to stay healthy, they need to ensure that the environment as well as the animals are also healthy. So one health is the concept that is needed, and only through the one health, the health can be achieved. Now India, when we talk about India guys, India is largely focusing on the health of, on all the aspects: physical health, spiritual health, social health. Okay, moreover the health has also been made affordable by India by many number of schemes, for example Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan and all such kind of things. And now India wants to make the health as an affordable thing in entire world. Okay, then after that, moving on in this particular direction. Okay, moving in this direction. Okay, so there is one article, only half of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana insurance claims are settled. We'll see this particular article for the examination. Okay, then 360 Indians evacuated from Sudan. You are not required to see that how many Indians have evacuated today, how many of Indians have reached. Just understand this thing, that Operation Kaveri is being taken to evacuate the people who have been struck in Sudan. And yesterday there was an article also which came in this particular light in editorial section, which says that India has the largest diaspora in the world, and any crisis in any part of the world, if it will happen, India's will be struck there, because Indians are present in all the countries. So we need to have a standard operating procedure, as well as we need to have a special force to deal with these particular things. Then further moving on, she holds first call with Zelensky since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, the talks are happening between Ukraine and Russia. Okay, then guys, center tells the state to scrap levies on power generation. We'll see that what this article is all about. Then we have largely the corporate trends. Maruti quarter four net surges 42% higher. Then we have the sports page. So this is guys the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. So guys, in every class we start with the GS quotation, and this GS quotation can be used in your GS paper number 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. Today we'll take the quotation from Benjamin Franklin. So what Benjamin Franklin says? Benjamin Franklin says that justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. Now understand that when the injustice happens, there will be few people who have been meted with injustice. And these people who have been meted with injustice are furious, they are outraged, they are frustrated. Okay, obviously they will talk about the justice. But other people who are not touched by the injustice, they should also come and support them. Okay, until and unless these people will not come and will not support, the true justice will not come. So this IT article is talking about an active citizenry, a citizenry which has an empathy and a compassion towards those people who have been met with injustices. So an active citizenry supporting the cause of the deprived people is the only solution, is the only way out to bring justice in a state. Okay, you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 4 ethics as well as in GS paper number 2. Even in essay it can be used. Now starting up with the first article for today. So the first article that we have taken up is from text and context page, and the article reads the ambiguities in the nuclear liability law. Now this particular article, guys, we will see with respect to GS paper number 3, issues related to energy infrastructure. Issues related to energy infrastructure. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, let me give you some of background information. So if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, just I think yesterday or day before yesterday, we have seen one article in the newspaper where we have seen that on the Jatpur nuclear power project, India and France wants to finalize the contentions. They want to finalize the issues because of which the Jatpur nuclear power plant has not been operationalized. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Right now, when we talk about the energy security, that happens to be an important dimensions in a country's national priority. Right now, guys, when we talk about the India's energy security, understand this particular thing. In for particularly electricity, we are largely dependent today on the coal energy. Right now, 51% of India's installed electricity comes from burning of the coal. But right now, India has taken the COP target. India has taken the targets in COP26, COP27. India is also executing the INDC's intended nationally determined contributions, and eventually the coal energy, the coal's ratio in electricity is to be brought down. Now, if the coal will go down, we can focus on renewable energy, in which the solar, wind and hydropower are very important. But solar, wind and hydropower all have their own problems. For example, a lot of land availability is needed for the solar and wind power plants, but land availability is already a very big issue. And moreover, guys, when we talk about the solar and wind power plants, basically many number of times when the cloudy weather is there, or in the night when the sun is not there, there are problems. On windless days, generating electricity is a problem in the wind power plants. Hydropower plants, when we talk about, they can only be deployed in specific geographies, only in hilly terrains or the regions where the swift flow of river is there. Moreover, hydropower plant also have been criticized in the past few years. It is being said that, for example, in fragile ecology of Himalaya, we are storing so much of the water for the hydropower purposes, and it is inducing the seismic, it is inducing the seismicity, earthquakes, landslides, all these things are becoming a problem. So therefore, guys, one more alternative comes is tapping the nuclear energy. Is tapping the nuclear energy. Right now, out of the total installed electricity that we have, nuclear energy just constitutes nearly 2%. So nuclear energy can be explored. When I tell you about the present times, we are having right now 22 nuclear power plants, and approximately 1 dozen nuclear power plants are under negotiation. And when we talk about the nuclear power plants that India is taking up, in that Jatpur, in this particular capacity, Jatpur nuclear power plant is a very important one. Why? Because it is a 9900 megawatt nuclear power project. It will generate this much of electricity once it will be completed, and therefore it becomes one of the biggest nuclear power project. Now, the Jatpur nuclear power project will be constructed in Jatpur in Maharashtra, and it is being provided by the assistance of the France. Okay. Now, this particular project is basically, this particular project is struck in limbo. This particular project, what actually has happened, it has been struck because of there are certain issues, that have been there. Let's understand this particular thing, that what are these issues. And when we talk about the issues because of which the Jaipur nuclear power plant is not moving ahead, this issue is liability law. So we'll understand that what is this liability law, we'll understand that what is this particular issue. Okay, now let's understand the issue of liability law in this particular direction. Okay, now see guys, when we talk about the nuclear power, uh, there are different schools of thought on the nuclear power. There are one type of people who say that nuclear power can provide the endless energy to the world if we properly tap it. Moreover, when we talk about the power that we are tapping by the nuclear energy, it will not emit the carbon emission. So therefore, it is said that it is environment friendly and it is the energy or the electricity, it is the energy of the future. We need to tap it. But on another hand, the people say that nuclear energy has a lot of, basically we need to be very cautious and there are a lot of dangers that are associated with the nuclear energy. And in this particular context, we have seen that in past many of the nuclear disasters have also happened. For example, 3 Mile Island disaster. There is a Fukushima disaster happened in Japan. And the most disastrous one was the Chernobyl incident of 1986. 1986 Chernobyl nuclear accident that happened in the erstwhile USSR. In this nuclear power, in this accident that happened into the nuclear power plant, thousands and thousands of people died. The entire town or the entire city of where the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was located, it became inhospitable. And for coming generations, many of the people, they developed the they have seen the genetic mutations. Okay, now, because of this particular danger, the countries have agreed that we need to adopt a lot of precaution. And if such accident happens, there needs to be a mechanism to financially compensate to the people who have got injured or who have got harmed. And therefore, many conventions were signed for making the nuclear energy more safer. And out of these conventions, one convention was brought, that is a convention on supplementary compensation. Now, this convention on supplementary compensation was adopted in 1997. India also adopted this convention on supplementary compensation, but India ratified in 2016. Now, what this convention on supplementary compensation talks about? This particular convention on supplementary compensation, it provides this particular thing, that if a nuclear accident happens, then there needs to be any mechanism or there needs to be a kind of a pool of money from which the people who have been affected by this nuclear accident, they can be compensated. The governments should come out with some kind of a mechanism to pay back these nuclear accident survivors. So now guys, what happened? India, in order to execute this convention on supplementary compensation, has also came out with the law, that is Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. It provides for the speedy compensation mechanism for the victims of nuclear power plant accident. Okay. Now, what are the main provisions of this CLNDA? Let me tell you this particular provision. So, provision number one, it provides this particular thing, that if a accident happens into the nuclear power plant, then operator need to compensate the victims. Okay, and operator has to compensate to the tune of 1500 crore rupees. 1500 crore rupees. Now, who is a nuclear power plant operator in India? It is NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation India Limited. NPCIL is the operator. So if an accident happens, NPCIL will pay. To what amount it will pay? It will pay up to 1500 crore rupees in compensation, and it will cover that particular money through insurance, or there can be some another kind of a financial security which can be created. Now, if payment that has to be made increases beyond 1500 crore, suppose the damage is huge, many people have got impacted, a lot of property has got damaged, and the compensation amount that is to be given is more than 1500 crore rupees, then what will happen? The government will step, and government will provide some assistance. Government will provide assistance equivalent to 300 million SDR. 300 million SDR. Now guys, what is SDR? What is SDR? SDR stands for Special Drawing Rights. SDR is not a currency. SDR is a asset. SDR is an asset which has been created under IMF, International Monetary Fund. Now, SDR is an asset whose value is determined on the basis of the five currencies, which includes US dollar, it includes Chinese, US dollar, pound, US dollar, pound, Chinese yuan, okay, then Japanese yen, fine, euro, all these things. On that particular, on these five assets value, SDR is there. Now, so up to 300 million SDR assistance is to be given by country, which simply means after 1500 crore, if more compensation is to be given, then 21 to 2300 crore rupees, 2100 to 2300 crore rupees, it is to be provided by the government. Okay, this is something that is there. Now, under this, now, what about the supplier liability? Now, what about the supplier liability? Now, who is a supplier? Supplier is that particular company who has supplied the nuclear equipment, who has supplied the reactor and all such kind of things. They are the supplier. So, supplier is the supplier of equipment. Operator is one who is operating the nuclear power plant. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the compensation, the convention for supplementary compensation, okay, let me show you just a minute. So, when we talk about the convention on supplementary compensation, now this particular convention has specifically provided that paying will be the responsibility of the operator or government of that country in which the nuclear power plant is placed. But this particular convention also lays down two conditions in which the supplier can also have to pay. Now, here there is this one word, that is right of recourse. Right of recourse. Now, what is this right of recourse? Right of recourse means that the operator in the case of NPCIL will pay to the victims, and after that the operator will recover that particular money to supplier. Okay, that is the right to recourse. Now, the right to recourse is available in two conditions. Condition number one, if it is expressly agreed in the contract. Fine. For example, if we are signing the contract with the France, and in this particular contract, if we are signing the contract with the France, and in this contract, if we specifically provide the France will pay, then we can ask money from them. And second, if nuclear incident or nuclear accident has happened from an act of omission done with an intent to cause damage. Suppose deliberately the nuclear supplier has provided the faulty equipment, deliberately they have provided the substandard equipment. Why? So that deliberately the accident happens, then the money can be asked from the supplier. So these are the two conditions. Okay, fine, no problem. Now, guys, what is the problem that's coming? Problem is that when we talk about the India's law on the liability, that is CLNDA. So when we talk about India's CLNDA, that is Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010, it has specifically added one particular provision. It has specifically added this particular provision, that is that in India, the operator in India, an operator can demand the money from the supplier. Not even, not in other conditions also, the operator can demand the money from the supplier. Okay. So what has happened? India for the first time introduced the concept of the supplier liability. Okay, they say that over and above the operator's responsibility, fine, the other money is to be paid by the supplier. India has provided this particular thing, that India has the historical incidents such as the Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984, which was particularly because of the faulty equipment that was given. Okay, so therefore supplier, we can ask the money from supplier. But understand this particular thing, guys, that suppliers are not ready to give money in the case of the nuclear accident. Why? Because there is a kind of an unlimited liability cover that India is talking about. It means beyond 1500 crore, whatever the compensation is to be given, no limit, that should be paid by the supplier. Now supplier says that in this particular thing our business will become unviable. Moreover, if we provide the unlimited compensation to India, then other countries of the world will also ask the compensation from us if an accident happens. So therefore, the suppliers are not ready to give this assurance that we will give the compensation, but India wants that you should give an assurance that the money will be given. So on this particular thing, this matter has been struck. On this particular thing, the matter has been struck. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Now guys, understand that we have signed the nuclear agreements with many number of countries, with US, France, Japan. Okay, but up till now all these countries have been struck in the same kind of an issue. Only the nuclear power plant uh, in Kundakulam, in Kudankulam, which was deployed by Russia, it is clearly settled. Why? Because it came in existence before the Nuclear Liability Law of India was enacted. So the point that is coming here, in this particular direction is that, guys, that we need to immediately settle this compensation issue, because of this issue is not getting settled. A lot of nuclear power plants in India, they have not been completely finalized, they have not been operationalized, and they are struck. Fine. So this is this entire issue. Now moving to the next article. Only half of PMJDY. Okay. Fine. So this is the article. Only half of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana insurance claims settled in last 2 years. Okay, so we will see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3 issues related to the banking, as well as in the prelims examination also the questions on the schemes have been asked, so there we can also use this article. Now what this particular article is, guys, actually talking about. Now see, we know this, you might be knowing about the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is the flagship scheme for ensuring the financial inclusion in our country. Financial inclusion means that every person should be having an accessibility of bank account, an investment instrument. They need to have an accessibility of insurance also. Okay, but guys, usually we understand that financial inclusion is just giving a person a bank account. Yes, it is true, but beyond bank account, insurance and investment vehicle is also to be given to the person, then the financial inclusion will be completed. Okay, now when we talk about Jan Dhan Yojana, in Jan Dhan Yojana, people will be provided a facility that they can open the zero balance bank accounts, and therefore the financial inclusion will be helped by the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Now what has happened, when the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana was launched, at that point of a time, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana provided for an accident insurance cover for death, for permanent disability, and this accidental insurance cover was provided to every person, and for that particular thing no premium is to be charged. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the insurance, okay, there was life insurance. Originally when this scheme was started, there was a life insurance cover of 30,000 rupees that were to be provided. Then an accidental insurance cover of 1 lakh rupees was to be provided. Now this accidental cover of 1 lakh rupees got increased to 2 lakh rupees for the accounts that were opened in 2018. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana for financial inclusion, bank accounts will be opened, people will be given the life cover, and people will be given the accidental insurance cover. Life cover of 30,000 rupees and accidental insurance cover of 1 lakh rupees later got increased to 2 lakh rupees. Now what was the condition when this particular insurance will be provided to the people? So guys, under this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, people were given bank accounts, and along with that particular thing, a RuPay debit card was also provided. Now the condition was, there was only one condition, that is that if you want to avail this accidental insurance cover, then the beneficiary should perform at least one successful transaction. They should perform at least one successful transaction using this RuPay card in the past 90 days from the date of accident. So only if you have used this RuPay card and one transaction have been made, you will get this particular insurance cover, accidental insurance as well as the life insurance. Now many of the beneficiaries, they have claimed this particular cover because they have met with an accident, but these claims are not being disposed. Now government is saying this particular thing, that we have discontinued this particular scheme in March 2020. And since after the March 2020, we are not entitled, we actually are not under any obligation to give the money. But many of the beneficiaries, they are still demanding that they should be given. Okay, so here if you see, out of, now numbers are not that much important. See, so here you can, just a minute. So here you can see this particular thing, out of 647 claims, only 329 actually have been settled. So just half or just 50% of the claims have been settled because of this ambiguity that has come in the system. So this is guys all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now moving to the next article. Okay, now Supreme Court modifies order on eco-sensitive zone around protected forest. Okay, now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 3. We'll see this article with respect to GS paper number 3, environment related issue. GS paper number 3, environment related issue. Okay, now before moving on in this particular direction, first of all, let's understand that what we actually mean by ESZ, that is eco-sensitive zone. So basically guys, when for example we have national parks, we have wildlife sanctuary, we have other protected areas in India. Now understand this thing, that when a national park is concerned, the region around the national park, it can be declared as eco-sensitive zone. Now understand this particular thing. The national park is an area where the highest protection, for example, is given for the animals. But just outside the boundary of national park, we cannot start mining, we cannot start heavy industries and all such kind of things. Okay, now so outside the national park, we need to create a zone of transition. Outside the national park, we need to create a zone of transition where a lot of developmental activities will not be allowed. Only very few type of activities will be allowed. So around the protected areas, a strip of land is to be reserved as ESZ, eco-sensitive zone. Now, when we talk about the eco-sensitive zone, it is established under the provision of Environment Protection Act 1986. Okay, and these are intended to be the ecologically fragile areas. And Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change is actually responsible for identifying and demarcating the ESZ, eco-sensitive zone, around the national park, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. Okay. Now, guys, what actually happened last year in 2022? Supreme Court actually came out with a kind of a ruling, and Supreme Court provided that outside the protected areas, 1 kilometer area is to be reserved as the eco-sensitive zone. Now, as this particular thing came, many of the states criticized, and many of the states were not happy with this particular judgment, and one the state was Kerala. Now, if you recall the map of Kerala, Kerala is a state through which Western Ghats is running. Then the Kerala is also having a long coastline. Because of that, coastal regulation zone compliances also apply on that. Moreover, then if we see guys, in Kerala, there are so many of national parks, so many of the wildlife sanctuary, there are the backwaters, there are the lagoons. Okay. So point is that when we talk about the Kerala, a very big portion of Kerala is actually coming under coastal regulation zone or national park or under the backwaters. So therefore, very less area is there in the Kerala where they can do some kind of development. And it was provided that now 1 kilometer area around the national parks or protected areas are to be reserved like eco-sensitive zone. So Kerala said that it will lead to stopping of many of the developmental activities. We will simply not be having any land after that particular thing if we reserve 1 kilometer area after every national park, because so many national parks and wildlife sanctuaries are there in Kerala. Kerala was not happy. So what happened? Kerala actually approached the Environment Ministry also, that please ask Supreme Court or please pass a notification that this 1 kilometer land compulsorily is not to be reserved. Now, in this particular direction, what have happened now? Finally, the Supreme Court has modified its judgment, and Supreme Court has provided that now it is not mandatory to restrict minimum 1 kilometer area around the protected forest as eco-sensitive zone. Fine, this is not a kind of a compulsory rule that 1 kilometer area is to be kept aside. Okay, the states can keep any amount of area as they want. If they want to leave half a kilometer, or 500 meters, then according to their geography, according to the level of protection that is given, they can decide. So they have said this thing, that the idea of ESZ, first of all, ESZ cannot be uniform across the country. Moreover, they say that the purpose of ESZ is not to hamper the day-to-day activities of the citizen, developmental activities, rural activities, development. They don't want to hamper that, so they can modify the ESZ. Fine. This is what has come in this particular direction. Now, moving to the next direction. Next article. High Court orders triple test for couple facing legal hurdles to have child through surrogacy. High Court orders triple test for couple facing legal hurdles to have child through surrogacy. Now, guys, what this particular article is all about. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to social justice. GS paper number 2, issues related to social justice. Okay, so yes, so this particular article, guys, we are going to see with respect to the issues related to the social justice. High Court orders triple test for couple facing legal hurdles to have child through surrogacy. Now, basically, what do we understand first of all by surrogacy? So basically, suppose there are the two people who, let's say, have been married with each other and they want to have a child. They want to have a child. But let's say the situation is such that the female is not able to conceive a child even after so many of the attempts that they have taken. They have tried to conceive the child naturally. They have tried to conceive the child through the assisted reproductive technologies. But let's say the uterus, okay, or the womb of the women is not compatible to raise a child. So what they can do, they can take the help of a third woman, that is a surrogate mother. A surrogate mother will be the woman who will be who will become who will be the one who will try to facilitate the pregnancy on the behalf of these two couple. What can be done? So basically, the sperm of the husband can be taken, the eggs of the wife can be taken, and the husband's sperms and the wife's egg, they can be fertilized in a lab using IVF, in vitro fertilization, and then that particular fertilized egg can be placed in the womb of this third woman, and she will carry the pregnancy on the behalf of these two people. So she is a surrogate mother. Now guys, when we talk about the surrogacy, there can be two types of surrogacy. There can be two types of surrogacy. Number one, commercial surrogacy, and number two, altruistic surrogacy. Altruistic surrogacy. Commercial surrogacy is one when this particular women surrogate mother will be paid some money so that she raises the child for her. Okay, this is the commercial surrogacy. There will be a commercial agreement. Then there is altruistic surrogacy. Altruistic surrogacy is one when this particular woman is a close relative of them, or this particular woman is a close friend of them, and without any monetary benefit, without any monetary expectation, just out of pure compassion, just out of pure altruism, she is raising the pregnancy for them. That is altruistic, without money, just out of pure compassion and altruism. What actually the word altruism means? Altruism is when you are putting yourself in pain just to help other. That is altruism. So that is altruistic surrogacy. Now guys, when we talk about the surrogacy actually became a very big activity and in fact an industry in India in the past few years. And what has happened, many of the couples even from the other countries, they used to come in India to take the services of the surrogacy. Commercial surrogacy was very much rampant in India, but we have seen that actually in the past few years in this commercial surrogacy, the surrogate women's right have actually got exploited. Now understand this particular thing, that who are these surrogate mothers? Often these are the women who are very poor, who come from such society where they are just doing this particular activity so that they get some money. And many number of times of very old women who are not fit to carry the pregnancy, they have also volunteered to be surrogate. Okay, and many number of times there are the mediators, brokers who have come in between, who are negotiating all this particular deal. So basically there was a kind of a view that pregnancy, raising a child, giving birth to a child is a very sacred kind of a thing, and such kind of a thing should not get commercialized. So therefore India had come out with the Surrogacy Regulation Act, already that has been passed. And under the Surrogacy Regulation Act, already it has been provided clearly that in India commercial surrogacy is now not allowed, only altruistic surrogacy is now allowed. Only altruistic surrogacy is now allowed. That is surrogacy which is being done out of pure compassion without any money. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about this particular surrogacy act that we have in India, okay, first of all, it provides, the Surrogacy Regulation Act provides this particular thing, that men above 55 years, they cannot have a child through surrogacy. This is one issue. Second, this particular Surrogacy Regulation Act also provides this particular thing, that a surrogate mother have to be genetically related to the couple. Surrogate mother have to be genetically related to the couple. It means that the surrogate mother have to be a relative of the couple. Now, understand this particular thing. Actually, these two provisions have been criticized a lot in the past few months. Provision number one, that many number of times the couple, they have allowed for many of the years to have a child, okay, but they actually are not successful. And then finally when they find that the surrogacy is the only option, they might have crossed the age of 55 years. So why you are banning them? It is inequality against them. And second thing is saying that we allow altruistic surrogacy, but it is not a possibility that always a relative will be ready to bear the surrogacy for a couple. Okay, so they can also take the help of some close friend, okay, or some other person, fine, who is not related to them genetically. So remove this particular thing that the women needs to be genetically related. So these two provisions have been criticized. Now for this particular thing, a couple also has approached to the Karnataka High Court. They wanted to have surrogacy. In this particular case, the husband was 57 years old. They have lost their only child in 2022 and now they want to raise a child through surrogacy. But here the Karnataka High Court has very clearly provided this particular thing, that surrogacy can be provided only when this triple test is met. Only when this triple test is met. What is this triple test? Number one is a genetic test. It means that the women who is becoming the surrogate mother needs to be genetically related. Then the second is physical test. Fine, that the women who is becoming the surrogate should be physically fit to raise the pregnancy, and even the couple who are intending to be the parents, they should also be physically fit to raise a child. And economic test means that the couple who are trying to become the parent, intending parent, they should also have the economic capacity. They should be having the economic resources that they can raise the child. They should be able to give them the child the good education and all such kind of things. Okay, now so understand this thing. In this particular case, what has happened, Karnataka High Court has actually said that they have said this particular thing, okay, that this particular provision, that surrogate mother should be genetically related to the couple, it defeats altruism as well as logic. It defeats altruism and logic. This provision should be reconsidered by the parliament. But Karnataka High Court has not changed this provision. Karnataka High Court has simply said that as of today, commercial surrogacy is not allowed provided in law. Altruistic surrogacy is allowed, but altruistic surrogacy can be taken only when these three conditions are met, and the surrogate mother has to be genetically related. This has to be followed. But we should consider this particular point, okay, because some friend can also be the surrogate mother. Okay, now moving to the next article, guys. Promising bill. Promising bill. Rajasthan's initiative on a gig worker welfare board heralds good things. Now, what this particular article is, guys, all about, this article will see with respect to issues related to the GS paper number 3. Now, guys, in the past 2-3 days, we have repeatedly seen one particular article with respect to the gig workers and the article with respect to the gig economy of India. And I have explained you this particular thing also. In fact, yesterday also there was an article on the gig economy and gig workers. Just in one line, who are the gig workers? Gig workers are those workers who are working for a person on assignment basis. They are not a permanent employee of anyone. They are working on per assignment basis. For example, the people who are working as riders in all in Swiggy, Zomato, they are being paid on per assignment basis. Per delivery that they make, the commission is given. They are not a permanent employee. Okay, fine. So these are the gig workers. Now, guys, today we see this particular thing that because of these applications such as Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, urban company, they have come. What have happened? They have provided a lot of employment to the gig workers. Okay, so what I can do? I can become the rider for Zomato. I can be the rider for Swiggy. I can deliver some food and I will get a commission on every delivery that I make. So these platforms have come, these apps have come, they have given a lot of employment in this gig sector, and a lot of gig workers are getting employment by these particular platforms, and they have actually become a major source of job for the youth in India. Now, when we talk about the gig economy, it has actually been very much beneficial for employment. And many number of times the youth and migrant people who are coming in big cities, and when they are not able to get the regular jobs, immediately they can secure a financial assistance through these gig works. Moreover, there is also the flexibility of work hours that also they have. For example, if a college student even wants to deliver a food on Zomato or Swiggy, in any time that the person wants, they can deliver the food. So a lot of flexibility is there. Immediately the people can get the job. Okay, and it is being provided that as the smartphone usage is increasing, as internet is becoming more and more pervasive, this gig economy is going to flourish, it is going to increase. But understand this particular thing, guys, that even this gig economy, these platforms are giving so much of help to the people, but still the gig workers are not very much happy. The gig workers, they are saying this particular thing, that first of all, there is availability of a lot of cheap labor force. Okay, and because of that particular thing, companies also know it, and companies, what they have done, they have lowered the incentives that are given to the gig workers. For example, earlier, if they were being paid 30 rupees for per food delivery, now they are just being paid 15 rupees, 20 rupees. Workload has increased, uncertainty of working hours is there, lot of pressure of performance is there on these gig workers. So they say this particular thing, that actually they are being harassed. Now, understand this thing, that even these food delivery apps, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, what they have done, the workers who are working over them, they are not recognized as the workers. Why? Because if they will be recognized as workers, then the retirement benefit, maternity benefit, all these benefits are to be given. Rather, they are recognized as partners. Rather, they are recognized as the partners. And because they are the partners, partners means they are a separate business entity with whom these Swiggy, Zomato are working. So they are recognized as a partners and not the workers. And because of that, these companies, aggregators, fine, they don't need to pay them insurance, they don't need to pay them maternity benefit or pension, retirement benefit, anything, they don't need to pay them. This is something that is happening. Now, guys, because of this particular thing, these workers are frustrated. There are flash strikes which are being done by the workers. Few days back, there was a strike in the Blinkit also, which is a 10-minute delivery app. Now, seeing this particular thing, the Rajasthan government has come out with Rajasthan Platform-Based Gig Workers Registration and Welfare Bill 2023. Now, in this particular Rajasthan Platform-Based Gig Workers Bill 2023, what has happened? Rajasthan government has provided that now we want to regulate this gig economy, and certain responsibilities are to be imposed on the aggregators. Who are the aggregators? Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, these are the aggregators. Certain responsibilities are to be fixed on them. Now, the article is talking about this particular thing, that under this Rajasthan Registration and Welfare Bill of 2023, the Rajasthan government has provided that we will create a welfare board. Now, this welfare board, it will design the welfare policies for the gig workers. It will hear their grievances, their complaints. Okay. Moreover, they will also provide that what type of benefits, okay, what type of benefits are to be provided, their welfare, all these things will be taken up by the welfare board. Moreover, secondly, this bill also provides that there will also be a social welfare corpus. What is social welfare corpus? It will be a dedicated fund that will be created, and out of this particular fund, the money will be used for the welfare of the gig workers, delivery agents. Now, it has been provided that the money in this social welfare corpus will be coming by a cess that will be imposed on the digital transactions. So, when you are ordering food, when you are calling a cab, on those transactions there will be a cess that will be imposed, and from that particular cess the money will go to this social welfare corpus, and that money will be used for the welfare of these gig workers. Now, this particular kind of arrangement is, guys, already going on in Thailand, Malaysia. For example, in Thailand and Malaysia, what they do, basically there is a 2% there is a 2% cess, okay, that is imposed on every ride. That particular money goes in a fund, and that particular fund will give them health, accidental insurance, and all such kind of a thing. So such kind of a fund also is being created. We are trying to create in Rajasthan by this Registration and Welfare Bill of 2023, Rajasthan Platform Based Gig Workers Bill 2023. So this is, guys, what is being done by the Rajasthan, and this is actually a very good attempt to look in the grievances and the concerns of the gig workers who are working for so long hours, they don't have any security for them. This is a very good initiative. Guys, I hope that the video is streaming clearly. Now, moving to the next article, the challenge of reviving a sense of fraternity. The challenge of reviving a sense of fraternity. Now, guys, this is an article that that has been taken from editorial section, and this article will be important for GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 4, fraternity. Now, okay. Now, guys, moving on in this particular direction. So basically, what the article is talking about, the article is talking about the constitutional ideals, and within the context of constitutional ideals, the ideal of fraternity that has been very much important in the India's constitution. Now, see this particular thing, guys, that today we see that society has been divided on caste lines, religion lines, and many other ideological lines. Society has been divided. So right now, fraternity becomes a very important principle that should be followed by the society as well as by the political class. Now, the article starts with this fact that actually the Constitution of India was first of all demanded, basically the demands for the Constitution of India, they were made in early 1900s. Okay, but actually what happened, it was M.N. Roy, M.N. Rao, M.N. Roy, who was the pioneer of the communist movement, advocate of radical democracy. Guys, radical democracy is a direct democracy. Radical democracy is opposed to the representative democracy. People should directly be given the voice. That is a radical democracy. So M.N. Roy was the one who mooted the idea that we need to have a constituent assembly, and this constituent assembly will be drafting the constitution for India. Now the constituent assembly became the demand for constituent assembly became an official demand of the Indian National Congress in 1935, and this demand was also endorsed in Lucknow session of 1936, which was presided by the Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru also drafted the objective resolution, which then later became the preamble. Now, the article is talking about this thing, that when we talk about the Constituent Assembly was very rich in terms of the experience that it had, the type of people that were there, the high caliber people such as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was a drafting committee, the president. Now, within the Constitution of India, common brotherhood has actually been a very important ideal. Now, even the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he said this particular thing, without fraternity. Now, fraternity means the sense of common brotherhood. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that without fraternity, equality and liberty will be no deeper than the coat of paint. Okay, so without equality, liberty will be meaningless. They will be useless if fraternity is not there. Moreover, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also had said this thing, that liberty, equality, justice, fraternity are the most important principles, and therefore they also get added to the preamble of Indian Constitution. The preamble of Indian Constitution. Now guys, when we talk about the objectives, when we talk about the contents that have been carried in the preamble, we know this particular thing, that they cannot be executed by the force of law. Fine, they are not legal or political principles, but they are moral, spiritual, mystical contents. Morally, all the ideas of the preamble should be implemented. Spiritually, morally, the fraternity and all these things should be implemented. So they might not be having a legal force, but they have a spiritual force. Okay. Now, further moving on, today guys, we see the fraternity has been most forgotten in our constitution. In our electoral processes, fraternity is not something that is taken up. The politicians, they try to divide people on caste line, religion lines, all these kind of things that is happening. Now guys, understand this thing. Today we need to follow the fraternity, and it is not possible without public empathy. Fine. Till the time people will not be inclined to follow fraternity, fraternity cannot come in India. Now, even when you talk about fraternity, Article 51A. Now, Article 51A is about the fundamental duties. As of today, we have 11 fundamental duties. And in Article 51A, we have Article 51AE, which talks about that it will be a duty of every citizen to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. Okay. So, even the fundamental duty talks about the common brotherhood, fraternity. Now, Sir Ernest Barker, fine, he says this particular thing, that there is a difference between psychological fact of common emotion and the political principle of fraternity. Now, see this thing. Psychologically, people are inclined towards each other. They are respectful towards each other. That is one thing. But at the same time, political parties, as a political principle, also need to promote the fraternity. So, people having a bond with each other is a different thing, and political parties promoting the sense of fraternity, brotherhood, belongingness is another thing. No, many of the political scientists, social scientists, including the Rajiv Bhargav, they have said this thing, that there is a pressing need to excavate the moral values. Fine. So our constitution contains many of the moral values, common brotherhood, fine, welfare of the weaker section of society. It is a very important moral value. We need to excavate these moral values, and they are needed to be preached today. Today, we see that we have given so much importance to fraternity, but still inequalities are existing. Caste inequality, inequality in terms of gender, in terms of religion, they are existing. Okay, and they are continuing. Gandhiji's 7 social sins, okay, are going on. What are the Gandhiji's 7 social sins? So Gandhiji says that the wealth without work is a sin. Okay, wealth without pleasure, without conscience is a sin. Commerce without morality is a sin. Science without humanity is a sin. So in this way, 7 social sins have been given by Gandhiji, which we should not do, but they are being they are continuing. So point is that today the time has come. We need to have a kind of a moral upliftment in the politicians. Moral upliftment of the people should happen. They should understand the spiritual value of fraternity, brotherhood, belongingness towards each other, and they should follow it. Okay. And the political class also particularly needs to be very much responsible in this particular direction. Okay, that is about it. Now moving to the next article, virtual digital assets, India's stand and the way ahead. Virtual digital assets, India's stand and the way ahead. Now, basically, guys, what do we first of all understand? Now, this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, issues related to Indian economy. Issues related to Indian economy. Now, what is a virtual digital assets? Basically, guys, cryptocurrency, okay, crypto assets, they can be called as a virtual digital assets. Virtual means that they exist only in virtual form, not in the physical form. Okay, and assets means that they have some kind of a worth, they have some kind of value. So today we have cryptocurrencies, bitcoins, ethereum, they are called as the virtual digital assets. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that India is slowly trying to regulate the virtual digital assets. India is slowly trying to regulate the virtual digital assets. Now, many steps have also been taken up in this particular direction. What are the steps that have been taken up? First of all, guys, we see this particular thing, that the Union Finance Ministry, they have issued a gazette notification in the budget, and they have come out with this particular thing, that now if any virtual digital asset, cryptocurrency, is being transferred from one person to another person, then all that particular information is also to be shared with also to be shared with anti-money laundering agency. Understand this thing, guys? What is money laundering? Money laundering is to make money that has been generated from dirty activities as clean and legitimate. Okay, so guys, understand this thing, that there is reports that a lot of cryptocurrencies have been used for money laundering purposes, for terror financing. The cryptocurrencies are being used. So today, if I am sending any cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, to you, all this information is to be shared with the anti-money laundering agencies, so that they can understand that these transactions are not happening for any illegal purpose. So this is one provision that we have brought. We have brought that virtual digital assets, they will come under the provision of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. This is something that has happened. So today, any platform, now platforms are the exchanges which are giving you the service to transfer the cryptocurrencies, the digital wallet. So all these platforms have to register with the Financial Intelligence Unit, and they have to report all these transactions to the Financial Intelligence Unit. So today, guys, the platforms such as the coin switch, etc., they have to mandatorily provide all the information about the transactions to the Financial Intelligence Unit. Now, all these particular things are a step in right direction. Why? Because the guys, see, as the financial transactions happen, find and as see, as the financial transactions are happening, there are certain rules which govern that financial transaction. Today, the cryptocurrencies also, they have a kind of a economic value attached with that. Okay, so as these kind of rules are applicable to bank, financial institutions, so cryptocurrencies, virtual digital assets, when they are being transferred, there also need to be certain rules. Now, by this particular thing, what will happen? Virtual digital assets will be able to diligently monitor and take action against the malpractices. Okay, then after that particular thing, guys, it will make virtual digital asset sector more transparent. These transactions will become will be more transparent. Then next thing is that it will also build the confidence assurance in the ecosystem. Government will be able to make an oversight that the transactions that are happening in cryptocurrencies, they are not happening for wrong purpose. Moreover, Financial Action Task Force. Now, Financial Action Task Force, it looks that the transactions, financial transactions, they are not supporting terrorism. Financial transactions are not happening to help in money laundering. So, Financial Action Task Force also expects that India should have the control over the cryptocurrencies, their flow, there needs to be a regulation. So, all these particular things will be helped. Okay. Now, guys, when we talk about FATF, FATF has a comprehensive definition of virtual asset service providers. Now, virtual asset service providers are those brokers, mediators, platforms which are helping in exchange and transaction of the cryptocurrencies. So, FATF provides that, has given their definition and expects the regulation over them. So now, as we have provided that every exchange, every transaction is to be shared with the Financial Intelligence Unit, we are also in a way implementing the Financial Action Task Force recommendation. Now, guys, there is also one more thing that government has come out with. Government has provided that if any cryptocurrency transaction or transfer will happen, and if there is any monetary gain that is being made, then that monetary gain, then that profit will be taxed at 30%. 30%. Now, let me explain you this particular thing. Now, suppose, guys, I bought a Bitcoin. I bought one Bitcoin, let's say at 10 lakh rupees way back. Today, I want to sell this Bitcoin. Let's say today the value of Bitcoin is, let's say, 40 lakh rupees. And I want to sell this particular Bitcoin to you. Now, so what I will do, I will transfer this one Bitcoin to you and you will give me 40 lakh rupees. Now, I bought this Bitcoin at 10 lakh rupees. Today I am selling it at 40 lakh rupees. So in between, 30 lakh rupees is a profit that I have made on one Bitcoin. Then, so on this particular profit, I need to pay 30% tax to the government if the profit is being made in the crypto assets. Now the government is, now the article is saying that, see, when we are regulating the crypto assets, when we are imposing so much of compliances, then why we are having 30% tax rate on these transactions? It is very high. Okay, so it has been said that such high, prohibitively high taxes should not be there. We need to reduce the taxes on the virtual digital assets on par with the other assets. So the taxes that we imposed on property, on or on other assets, on that particular line, we need to reduce the taxes also. Okay. Now the article is saying that, see, right now India is also the India is also the chairman at the G20, and under the G20 presidency, India needs to come out with an effective regulation to regulate crypto assets, virtual digital assets, okay, and should start the critical discussion as how they can be controlled, how they can be regulated. This is something a very important thing. Now, already guys, we have seen that Japan, South Korea, they have established a framework to license virtual asset service providers. So the platforms, they will be given the license. Moreover, just if you remember, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, we have seen one article where Europe is also coming out with the market in crypto asset regulation. Now, in this by this particular law, the crypto asset regulators, the agency, the crypto exchanges, they need to register themselves. Okay, so these are all the things that are coming, and India also needed to regulate crypto assets, but at the same time, very high taxes that have been imposed, they need to be brought down. Okay, that is all about it. Now, moving to the next article. The third gen web is about public good. Third gen web is about public good. Now, guys, before going on this particular article, I would like to explain you about the Web 3.0. Web 3.0. See, first was the Web 1.0. Web 1.0 focused on connecting the computer with the internet. It focused on connecting the computer with the internet. Okay. Then came the Web 2.0. Web 2.0 focused on connecting the people with the internet. It focused on connecting the people with the internet. Okay. Right now, Web 2.0 is going to end and we are entering in Web 3.0. Now, what is Web 3.0? Web 3.0 focuses on Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. Web 3.0 is immersive and far-reached internet. Now understand this thing. Today, we have generative tools. For example, Chat GPT. Today, we have artificial intelligence tools, engines. Today, machine learning is coming. Okay, so these machine learning, artificial intelligence, fine, blockchain, when we have Internet of Things, okay, Chat GPT, all these are the modules of Web 3.0. So we are moving towards the Web 3.0. Now the article provides this particular thing that first of all you need to understand that we have a misconfusion. We have a confusion between two terms, that is Web 3. That is Web 3 and Web 3.0. We think that they are the same, but no. Web 3 and Web 3.0 are not the same. When we talk about the Web 3.0, it means the emergent form of internet which will be driven by Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine to machine communication. But when we talk about the Web 3, it is a new version of internet which will be decentralized. You guys understand this thing, that today when we talk about the internet, it is controlled by some big entities. A lot of the data, maximum data is with some big entities, but Web 3 is the decentralized form of internet where the information will be decentralized, which will not be consolidated by some entities. Okay, so first of all, there is a kind of a confusion between Web 3 and Web 3.0. Okay, so what is Web 3? Web 3 is a decentralized, privacy oriented, blockchain driven, crypto asset friendly regime. Now, one more thing I want to tell you, sometimes Web 3.0 includes